presentation is specifically for Sun because Sun asked when she heard about the High Performance Academy, she thought that sounds very, very interesting. Have you ever had those moments where you are sick, you feel sick, and your world goes from this big down to this big? What you're capable of, what you can do in a day, even a phone call can seem like a ridiculous task that you would never take on. And that productivity level that you had when you're feeling really healthy goes out the wayside. You can't even imagine doing anything because your body doesn't feel good. Well, take that idea and spread it out a little bit over time, over a lifetime. The idea of the High Performance Academy, which is a seminar that Marty and I went to in California, led by Brendan Burchard, the idea is, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but what I took away is that we can all be our best selves at any given point if we have the right tools. And I'm going to condense 4 days of content in 5 to 7 minutes. I will speak extremely fast. I do want you guys to follow along because there were so many incredible things to take away from that. There are 4 pillars to this High Performance Academy if you are curious and you want to be a more high-performing individual in your own life. The first one is physiology. Second is psychology. Third is productivity. And fourth is persuasion. So we're going to go through and I'll share little tidbits of what we learned over the course of those 4 days. Physiology. Let's talk about the basics. I started out talking about when you feel sick, you can't be very productive. So on the opposite side, what would help you to be the most healthy individual that you could possibly be? What do you need? What do your bodies need? And you guys can just shout out what you think you need. Sleep, Sean, number 1. Thank you.
Food.
Sleep. Food. What type of food?
Good food. Healthy.
Healthy food.
Water.
Yes. What is it?
Water.
Water. Thank you.
Exercise.
Exercise. You guys are very good here. You must be extremely highly productive people and in great shape, and you get all the sleep that you need, and you eat all of the great things that you should be eating, right? A phrase that Brendan Burchard uses a lot is common sense isn't always common practice. And that was drilled in over the course of 4 days. So we all know these things. It's really about creating habits. So when you think about physiology, what you're doing for yourself over time, over your lifetime, is creating habits that work for you, making sure you get enough sleep, working that into your schedule. I could go through all of the different things, but you probably know, and you can extrapolate what that would mean for your physiology and how you could be a highly productive person. The second topic is psychology. Now, psychology, this is probably the biggest topic in my mind, and maybe should come before physiology, because if you don't think you could be a highly productive person, if you don't think that you could change your life, would you do it? Would you do those things that you just talked about? No. So one of the base ideas that's coming out in modern psychology right now is the idea of growth mindset or fixed mindset. So what do you guys think? What does that mean when I say growth or fixed mindset? You're shaking your head. What do you think that means, Pat?
A growth mindset is when you go for something that you don't necessarily, you haven't maybe experienced fully before, but you have an idea that you might be able to accomplish it, whereas with a fixed mindset, you do the things that you're comfortable doing.
Great, perfect. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. I heard growth mindset, you see that there's an alternate possibility for yourself and you believe that you can achieve that you can do that. And a fixed mindset would be, well, I'm going to stay like this is how I've always been, so it's how I'm always going to be. Now you can imagine with that fixed mindset, you're not going to take the actions that you would need to take to change your life. So having a growth mindset is something that you can foster. That's one thing, and I won't get into the details, but you might have heard about the neurology or the study of the brain now that we have common paths that we like to take. Just like when you drive to work, you generally might drive the same way. Well, your brain, your neurons work the same way. And they take the same paths because that's kind of like what's ingrained there. But what's amazing, if you think about neurons, we'll pretend that they're a tractor for a second. And if that tractor is on a path that it's gone over again and again and again and again and again, it's going to have what? Ruts in the ground. What happens if you turn that tractor 1 degree? Where would that go?
To the rut, because you can't get up off the lip, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that, but that probably is true. But if you could, where would you end up over time?
different location.
Yeah, different location. It would be different. So it's all about the small changes. We've heard Marty mention before the 4% changes. So if we think about in our mindset, we don't have to change everything right away. We just have to have the idea that it's possible, and then to do a small change. And then let time be our friend there instead of our enemy. So we've covered psychology and physiology. So talking about productivity. Now that one's you've probably heard a little bit more about. We can go into the details of how do you use your calendar. I'm going to say all of my productivity tips refer to Marty Bhatia because that's what he focuses on. I won't even try to go there. In fact, there were certain points of the High Performance Academy where I looked over at Marty and I'm like, oh, Marty's got this down way better than any of these presenters. And then our fourth category is persuasion. Now for this one, you might be thinking, why is persuasion part of High Performance Academy? Well, if you want to do things in your life, you've got to be able to talk with people. That's probably why you're all sitting here. So being able to master persuasion is not only the art of speaking, what we do here, but really the psychology of how do you persuade someone to see your point of view. And that, in a very quick idea, is instead of coming at someone and saying that their culture is wrong, which is not what Sun was doing, but if you put somebody on the defensive, you're going to get a defensive response. But if you step into their perspective first and meet them there and acknowledge that perspective and then invite them to come over, and that's called the finding a solid ground or a common ground, and then you bring them into your perspective, you'll get a lot better results. So there's a whole day on persuasion. And in fact, one of the guest speakers, have you heard of Huffington Post? Have you heard of Ariana Huffington?
Yes.
She was one of the speakers during that, the High Performance Academy. And even hearing her talk about her life and how she's gotten to where she's gotten, and her revelation of her crashing on the floor from exhaustion, hitting her head, and needing to go to see doctor after doctor after doctor, put all of this in perspective. And I think it's starting a really great movement. And now you guys have 4 pieces that you can take away for that 1 degree shift in your life. Thank you.